Conversations with God, Book 2, Chapter 10 and 11. I've been waiting for this. This is more of what I assumed you were promising me when you told me that Book 2, the daily planetary show, is on a global scale. So, can we begin our look at our human politics by my asking you what may seem like an elementary question? No questions are undeserving or unworthy. Questions are like people. Good one. Okay, then let me ask. Is it wrong to undertake a foreign policy based on your country's own vested interests? No. First, from my standpoint, nothing is wrong. But I understand how you use the term, so I will speak within the context of your vocabulary. I will use the term wrong to mean that which is not serving you, given who and what you choose to be, blah 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 blah. This is how I've always used the terms right and wrong with you. It's always within this context, for in truth there is no right and wrong. So within that context, no, it's not wrong to base foreign policy decisions on vested interest considerations. What is wrong is to pretend that you are not doing so. This most countries do, of course, then take action or fail to take action for one set of reasons, then give as a rationale another set of reasons. Why? Why do countries do that? Because governments know that if people understood the real reasons for most foreign policy decisions, the people would not support them. I don't think so. They're all heard nevertheless. This is true of governments everywhere. At least you've been frank, everywhere, not just certain. You don't pinpoint just a certain. Don't discriminate against just one sort of government. There are very few governments which do not deliberately mislead their people. Deception is part of government. For few people to choose to be governed the way they are governed. Few would choose to be governed at all. I don't think so. Few, very little percentage, not all. The majority would like, unless government convinced them that its decisions were for their own good. This is a hard convincing for most people plainly see the foolishness in government. So government must lie to at least try to hold the people's loyalty. Government is the perfect portrayal of the accuracy of the axiom that if you lie big enough, long enough, the lie becomes the truth. Okay, you aliens don't lie. You aliens don't lie. In Ahmad, there's Ahmad there and many other minions are out there who thinks that aliens are humans. The idiots mistake the Pleiadians. They mistake the Agarthans, which are the fourth dimension, which were one of the foremost native to Earth here from the time of Atlantis, to with aliens. They say that our DNA come from them and not vice versa, when it's the contrary. Aliens came here and stole our DNA, our human DNA. That they need a lot. Okay, not the other way around. In fact, humans were once, not humans, aliens, smokeless beings, made of smokeless form, black smokeless form, because they come from the bottom of the cosmos. And they were also once insectoid, later reptoid, and once they came to Earth, they took DNA and they start to recreate other templates, other forms of template. But this moron there don't understand this. He doesn't want to accept because he's too stupid, and he follows religion beliefs. So what to expect from this kind of a primate? Unless government convinced them that its decisions were for their own good. This is a hard convincing, for most people plainly see the foolishness in government. So government must lie to at least try to hold the people's loyalty. Government is the perfect portrait of the accuracy of the axiom that if you lie big enough, long enough, the lie becomes the truth. People in power must never let the public know how they came to power, nor all that they have done and are willing to do to stay there. Truth and politics cannot mix, because politics the art of saying only what needs to be said, and say it in just the right way in order to achieve a desired end. Not all politics are bad, but the art of politics is a practical art. It recognizes with great candor the psychology of most people. Of course, the people heard what? The people love to be governed, to be controlled. They love it because they don't have a mind of their own. They like everything constructed and put inside one box, and they follow blindly and take advantage of it blindly without constructive and critical forms of thinking or questioning. It simply notices that most people operate out of self-interest. So politics is the way that people of power seek to convince you that their self-interest is your own. Governments understand self-interest. That's why governments are very good at designing programs which give thanks to people. Originally, governments had very limited functions. Their purpose was simply to preserve and protect. Then someone added provide. When governments began to be people's provider as well as the people's protector, you see, government started creating society rather than preserving it. And worse than to provide is not to provide at all and let everybody die of hunger. And that's what aliens want and do. And that's why they have been programming it since the 90s. Okay? Governments understand self-interest. Okay. But aren't governments simply doing what the people want? Don't governments merely provide the mechanism through which the people provide for themselves on a societal scale? For instance, in America, we place a very high value on the dignity of human life, individual freedom, the importance of opportunity, the sanctity of children. So we have made laws and asked the governments to create programs to provide income for the elderly so they can retain their dignity past their earning years, to ensure equal employment and housing opportunities for all people, even those who are different from us, or with whose lifestyle we don't agree, to guarantee through child labor laws that the nation's children don't become a nation's slaves, and that no family with children goes without the basics of a life with dignity, food, clothing, shelter. Yeah, and that's good, but where it leaves the health care program? Some people are only attended after many hours in certain places and certain countries when they are dying at the ER. Otherwise, they are not able to have a consultation with the doctor, the near available doctor. Less than 6 months, and they have to pay, even though they have to pay for it. There are countries where we have to pay, still have to wait for 6 months. That's not the case of Brazil. It's free. You have to wait to get a government to get a doctor, government doctor attendance or consultation, but it's free. At least it's free. And free horses, you don't look at the tooth to see whether they bite well or not, isn't it? But these other countries, no. You have to pay, even if it's a third world country. Third world country still charging for people to have medical care, approachable and accessible medical care. Okay, without insurance and medical insurance, you are not attended in these countries. And even when you mark a consultation, mark an appointment to see a doctor, you have to pay. It's not free. Even if you have to pay at least 65%, 70%. The rest will be subsidized by the government, by the taxpayer. But still not enough. Many poor people cannot help, cannot they cannot pay for it. Such a law meanwhile in Scandinavia, the society was okay, even though they charge high taxes per year. The society was okay, but after that they infiltrate aliens from outside to destroy their society and their lifestyle. Such laws reflect well upon your society. Yet, in provide for people's needs, you must be careful not to rob them of their greatest dignity. What do you know about dignity, man? What do you know? You invade the constellations, invade the planets, and then you don't talk about dignity. You come on. The exercise of personal power, individual creativity, and the single-minded ingenuity which allows people to notice that they can provide for themselves. Oh, they can provide. The elderly past 75 can provide. They barely can walk, let alone provide for themselves. How about the mentally challenged, the mentally unstable? Hmm? How about the visually impaired, the people who cannot see properly? How about the disabled? How about those people? You want them to go and find a job and work? That is if they can find a job, because job nowadays is scarce. So you think so easy like this to go there and work in the big cities? Maybe in the countryside, if the weather is okay, there's no much flood or drought. Yeah, you can plant. You can plant. You can survive at what you cultivate. But that's not the case with big cities, isn't it? Now it's a common sense for intelligence's sake. Isn't it, Ahmad? Stupid Ahmad, moron. Such a law reflects well upon your society. So the exercise of personal power, individual creativity, and the single-minded ingenuity which allows people to notice that they can provide for themselves was so easy. You talk, reptilians or aliens. You talk so easy because not you. It's not you, so what you care? After all, it's not your ass or your eyes that is burning. So you don't care if somebody's burning with chilled pepper and having their eyes and their rear view, then what you care? Which allows people to notice that they can provide for themselves, a delicate balance which must strike. You people seem to know only how to go from one extreme to the other. Either you want government to do it all for the people, or you want to kill all government programs and erase all government laws tomorrow. But it's you who want that, or it's you who are suggesting. It's you who are suggesting that. Whoever wrote this here, is you who are suggesting that this is happening. So I'm gonna repeat. Such laws reflect well upon your society, yet in providing for people's needs, you must be careful not to rob them of their greatest dignity, the exercise of personal power, individual creativity. That's why they coined the term, give a man a fish and he will eat on sometimes. Teach men how to fish and they will eat his whole life, his whole time. But it's not always the water is good for fishing. Not always you have the flour to bake your bread. Not always you have the money to buy your food, let alone your rice. So please, you be more, you be logical. Put your feet down to earth. My gosh, not your mind there in the sky. So the exercise of personal power, individual creativity. So you must be careful not to rob them of their greatest dignity, the exercise of personal power, individual creativity, and the single-minded ingenuity which allows people to notice that they can provide for themselves. They can provide, provided that they have all the tools. And don't give me this nonsense of, oh, but I have given you the two. The two are the words, the thinking, and the actions. What? Yeah, think we can think. Talk we can talk. But can we go there and get it? It's gonna depend on other parts, isn't it? And there's a many wise. There are many wise or whether you're gonna be able to hold to a job or not. Okay? And the single-minded ingenuity allows people to notice that they can provide for themselves is a delicate balance which must be struck. You people seem to know only how to go from one extreme to the other. Either you want government to do it all for the people, or you want to kill all government programs and erase all government laws tomorrow. Yeah, it might be those who are within the government agencies or whatever who are doing this. The deputies or many others, I mean, all the politicians. There's some opposition who doesn't want certain programs to be implemented. They want to do away with it, so as to cut cost, isn't it? That doesn't mean that the people by itself wants it. But the best of all, I believe, is that provide as much job as possible, even if it means there on the plantation. Okay, even on the plantation, provides as much job as possible. For those countries where land is scarce, plantation is almost inevitable, then you have to curb your natality and your expenditure, your foreign expenditure or your military, whatever you have to take, but do it to curb expenditure. And don't increase the price of the goods, because how about the poor, how they can support themselves with the high cost of living, with the inflations, exorbitant exorbitant prices of goods and services. Yes, and the problem is that there are so many who can't provide for themselves in a society which gives the best life opportunities routinely to those holding the right credentials, or perhaps not holding the wrong ones, who can't provide for themselves in a nation where landlords want to rent to large families, companies want to promote human and certain other people. That's the question for certain other people. There's discrimination, etc. Ageism, gender discrimination, etc. Even racial discrimination, for God's sake. Justice is too often a product of status. Access to preventive health care is limited to those with sufficient income. You see? Access to preventive health care is limited to those with sufficient income, and where many other discriminations and inequalities exist on a massive scale in most of this world, throughout the world. Okay, government, then the alien player, then reptilian here reply, okay, these are not human. Okay, you morons who think that they are humans, they are not. Government then must replace the conscience of the people. No, you know that government cannot replace our consciousness, alien. You know that the conscience belongs to the cosmos. Indeed, the cosmos, it shall return. You know very well. No wonder I'm hated, because I tell things as it is, and I have a lot of stored knowledge in me. No, governments are the people's conscience, outspoken. It's through governments that people seek, hope, and determined to correct the ills of society. This the guy answered. But I don't think that it should be this way. I think that everybody needs to be independent of governments. Especially so. He said that nonsense thing. I think that he's been sarcastic, or he's been too foolish to say, to state such a thing. And the absurdity that people need to be so reliable on government for everything. That's well said. Yet I repeat, You must take care not to smother yourself in laws trying to guarantee people a chance to breathe. You cannot legislate morality. You cannot mandate equality. What is needed is a shift of collective consciousness, correct? Not an enforce of collective conscience. Behavior in all laws and all government programs must spring from beingness, must be a true reflection of who you are. Exactly, and many here are a fool, and they love to be a fool. They are a fool and they love to be that. The laws of a society do reflect who we are. They say to everyone, this is how it is here in America. This is who Americans are. Let's see. In the best of cases, perhaps, but more often than not, your laws are the announcements of what those in power think you should be, but are not. Yeah, that's correct. And I must become what? Wayward people. With the morality down there to the well. Down to the abysm. If their morality all stuck up in mud. What? The elitist few, instructed by the ignorant men through the law. Precisely. What's wrong with that? If there are few of the brightest and best among us willing to look at the problems of society, of the world, and propose solutions, does that not serve the many? It depends on the motives of those few, and on their clarity. Generally, nothing serves the many more than letting them govern themselves. Yeah, that's correct. Anarchy is never worked. Anarchy, it never worked. You cannot grow and become great when you are constantly being told what to do by government. Yeah, correct. It could be argued that government, by that I mean the law by which we have chosen to govern ourselves, is a reflex of society greatness, or lack thereof. That great societies pass great laws, and a very few of them, for in great societies very few laws are necessary. Still truly lawless societies are primitive societies. Even tribes have laws. They are ruled by this so-called the head of the village, the head of the tribe, shamans or whatever. So they are never without guidelines and law, even in tribal society. Still, truly lawless societies are primitive societies where might is right. Laws are means attempt to level the playing field to ensure that what is truly right will prevail. Weakness or strength notwithstanding, without codes of behavior upon which we mutually agree. How could we coexist? I'm not suggesting a word with no codes of behavior nor agreements. I'm suggesting that your agreements and codes be based on a higher understanding and a grander definition of self-interest. What most laws actually do say is what the most powerful among you have as their vested interest. Let's just look at the one example, smoking. Now, the law says you cannot grow and use a certain kind of plant, hemp, cannabis, because so government tells you it's not good for you. Yet, the same government says it's alright to grow and use another kind of plant, say tobacco. Not because it is good for you, indeed the government itself says it is bad, but presumably because you have always done so. The real reason that the first plant is outlawed and the second is not has nothing to do with your health. It has to do with economics. Precisely. And that's to say, power. Your laws, therefore, do not reflect what your society thinks of itself and wishes to be. Your laws reflect where the power is. Not fair. You pick the situation where the contradictions are apparent. Most situations are not like that. Then, what's the solution? To have a few laws which are really limit as possible. The reason the first weed is outlawed is only ostensibly about health. The truth is, the first weed is no more addictive and no more a healthy risk than cigarettes or alcohol, both of which are protected by the law. Correct? Very correct. Why is then not allowed? Because if it were grown, how would the cotton growers, nylon and rayon manufacturer, and timber products people in the world would go out of business? Hemp happens to be one of the most useful, strongest, toughest, longest lasting materials on your planet. You cannot produce a better fiber for clothes, a stronger substance for ropes, and easier to grow and harvest source for pulp. You cut down hundreds of thousands of trees per year to give yourself Sunday papers so that you can read about the decimation of the world's forests. Correct. Hemp could provide you with the millions of Sunday papers without cutting down one tree. Indeed, it could substitute for so many resources materials at one-tenth the cost. And that's the catch. The catch. Somebody loses money if this miraculous plant, which has extraordinary medicinal properties, incidentally is allowed to be grown. And that is why marijuana is illegal in your country. Absurd. It's the same reason you have taken so long to mass produce electric cars, provide affordable, sensible health care, or use solar heat and solar power in every home. You've heard the wherewithal and the technology to produce all of these things for years. Why then do you not have them? Look to see who would lose money if you did. There you will find your answer. This is the great society of which you are so proud. Your great society has to be dragged, kicking and screaming to consider the common good. Whenever common good, the collective good, is mentioned, everyone yells communism in your society. If providing for the good of the many does not produce a huge profit for someone, the good of the many is more often than not ignored. This is true not only in your country but also around the world. The basic question facing humankind, therefore, is: can interest ever be replaced by the best interests, the common interest of humankind? If so, how? In the United States, you have tried to provide for the common interest, the best interest, through laws. You have failed miserably. Your nation is the richest, most powerful on the earth. It was. And it has one of the highest infant mortality rates. Why? Because poor people cannot afford quality prenatal and postnatal care. And your society is profit-driven. Correct. I see this as just one example of your miserable failure. The fact that your babies are dying at a higher rate than most other industrialized nations in the world should bother you. It does not. That says volumes about where your priorities are as a society. Other countries provide for the sick and needy, the elderly and infirm. You provide for the rich and wealthy, the influential and well-placed. 85% of retired Americans live in poverty. Correct. And all over, not only Americans, let's not be biased. Everywhere. And who say that many other countries provide for the elderly? They provide if you have good sons and daughters, or if you have already a nest, a huge savings. If not, you are on your own, you're gonna die starved. You are gonna die without lighting or water. Gonna die alone as you age. Many of these older Americans and most people in low income use the local hospital emergency room or ER as their family doctor. Yes, like that. Not only in America, Asia, Africa, Middle East, some part of Europe. It's like that. This steady world Europe countries like this as well. In some part of Latin America, at least in Brazil, it's free. Healthcare is free. Cirurgies are free as well. Even if you have to wait, never mind. Because as I said earlier, uh, free horse, you don't look at the tooth. Family doctors seeking medical treatment under only the most dire of circumstances and receiving virtually no preventive health maintenance care at all. Yeah, only those who have insurance, medical insurance does. There is no profit, you see, in people who have little to spend. They have worn out their usefulness. And this is your great society indeed. Huh? Your great society. You make things sound pretty bad, yet America has done more for the underprivileged and the unfortunate. I don't think so. Both here and abroad than any other nation on earth. I don't think so. And if we do it because we want something in return. Give an apple, want a big watermelon melon in return. That's the model of the world. America has done much that is observably true. Yet, do you know that as a percentage of its gross national product, the United States provides proportionally less for foreign aid than many much smaller countries? The point is that before you allow yourself to become too self-congratulatory, perhaps you should look at the world around you. For this is the best your world can do for the less fortunate. You all have much to learn. You live in a wasteful, decadent society. You have built into virtually everything you make what your engineers call planned obsolescence. Cars cost 3 times as much and last a third as long. Not in America, it's very cheap. In Brazil and America, very cheap car. Clothes fall apart after the 10th wearing. That's made in China, talking about clothes made in China. You put chemicals in your food so they can stay on the shelf longer. Even if it means you stay on the planet, your stay on the planet is shorter. You support, encourage, and enable sports teams to pay obscene salaries for ridiculous efforts, and that include soccer, while teachers, ministers, and researchers fighting to find a cure for the diseases which kill you, go begging for money. You throw away more food each day in your nation's supermarkets, restaurants, and homes than it would take to feed half the world. Yet, this is not an indictment, merely an observation. And not of the United States alone, for the attitudes that sicken the heart are epidemic around the world. Correct. The underprivileged everywhere must grovel and scrimp to merely stay alive, while the few in power protect and increase great hoards of cash, lie on sheets of silk, and each morning twist bathroom fixtures made of gold. That is awful, really awful. This absurd. And the emaciated children of ribs and skin die in the arms of weeping mothers. The country's leaders engage in political corruptions which keep donated foodstuffs from reaching the starving masses. Yeah, that's why blame their leaders in these poor countries where the children are starving on the road, because the government are held on to the donated goods sent to them. The aid that came from overseas are held by their own government, but they come on YouTube and they talk bad about this nation who help them. How to help them unless the armies from these other countries come directly and then distribute food and allowances to the people directly without go through government interference in these corruptions nations. That's the truth that Ahmad don't want to listen. No one seems to have the power to alter these conditions, yet the truth is power is not the problem. No one seems to have the will. Correct. And they don't care either. You see um, how afraid they are, how coward they are, how stuck up they are, how conformist they are, how selfish these people are. At least the majority of them. And thus it will always be, so long as no one sees another plight as his own, as long as no one sees the pain and the burning in the other's one rear side and eyes. It's only when it hurts in their own pockets, it's only when hurt in their mind and their body, then they'll understand what is pain, what's to go hungry, what's to go thirsty, what's to be poor, what is to live in a dire poverty. Then they will understand. Well, why don't we? How can we see these atrocities daily and allow them to continue? Ask yourself, why don't you also? Why you complain and then you resist and contest all this truth that you all don't want to accept? Because you do not care. Correct. You do not care because you say, it's their problem, their body, to help them. It's a lack of caring. The entire planet faces a crisis of consciousness. You must decide whether you simply care for each other. Correct. Because you do not care, it's lack of caring. The entire planet faces a crisis of consciousness. You must decide whether you simply care for each other. They don't even care for their own flesh and blood, and that means they are younger children below the age of 15, for God's sake. They don't care. They don't care. How about they would care about others? How would they care about others when they don't care about themselves and their children? There is parents who make enough money 1 month to pay for their bills, and still there's some savings. They go travel, but they don't buy food for their children. They don't buy what their children want, like ice cream or what the kids want. Sometimes spoil their children for good food. They don't buy. Why? Because they are too selfish and they hold it tight to their purse string. When back in their childhood they had all this, but now they deny to their own children. That's how these people are awful Homo sapiens, primitive people. It seems such a pathetic question to have to ask. Why can't we love the members of our own family? We don't love it because either some of them is not good, bad character, they are selfish, they only care for themselves, they are ungrateful lots, okay, or we ourselves are too ungrateful and we are beasts. We are a very evil people. That's why we don't care about our family members. It can be our parents, our elderly, our grandparents, okay, you just want to suck from them. That's the reason. spoiled people, very spoiled. They are, I don't know, they are weak, but they have worms inside their consciousness. See, they have worms, parasites. You do love the members of your own family. You simply have a very limited view of who your family members are. You do not consider yourself part of the human family, and so the problems of the human family are not your own. How can the peoples of the earth change their worldview? That depends on what you want to change it to. Well, you don't care because you don't care about other people because you are not feeling their hurt. You don't feel their hunger pangs. You not feel what they are feeling. You just say, to hell with them. I don't care. It's not my body. I go there when I spend maybe $1,000 in that bag, more 500 here on entertainment, and the rest can go to hell. You do love the members of your own family. You simply have a very limited view. So how can the peoples of the earth change their worldview? That depends on what you want to change it to. How can we eliminate more of the pain, more of the suffering? By eliminating all separation between you, by constructing a new model of the world, by holding it within the framework of a new idea. Okay, and by being more empathic and sensitive and try to place your feet inside that people's foot or even their shoes. Okay, try to feel the pain as they walk through life. Try to understand why is that so before you judge people for doing the unthinkable, for stealing or even murder someone when they are being abused. Okay, which is so he answered by eliminating all separations between you, by constructing a new model of the world, by holding it within the framework of a new idea, which is going to be a radical departure from the present world view. Presently, you see the world we are speaking geopolitically now as a collection of nation states, each sovereign, separate, and independent of each other. The internal problems of these independent nation states are, by and large, not considered the problems of the group as a whole, unless and until they affect the group as a whole or the most powerful members of the group. The group as a whole reacts to the conditions and problems of individual states based on the vested interests of the larger group. If no one in the larger group has anything to lose, conditions in an individual state could go to hell and no one would much care. Correct. Very, very true. Thousands can starve to death each year. Hundreds can die in civil war. Despots can pillage the countryside. Dictators and their armed thugs can rape, plunder, and murder. Regimes can strip the people of basic human rights, and the rest of you will do nothing. It is, you say, an internal problem. But when your interests are threatened there, when your investments, your security, your quality of life is on the line, you rally your nations and try to rally your world behind you and rush in where angels fear to tread. You then tell the big lie, claiming you are doing what you are doing for humanitarian reasons, to help the oppressed peoples of the world, when the truth is you are simply protecting your own interests. The proof of this is that where you do not have interests, you do not have concern. The world's political machinery operates on self-interest. What else is new? Something will have to be new if you wish your world to change. You must begin to see someone else's interests as your own. This will happen only when you reconstruct your global reality and govern yourselves accordingly. Are you talking about a one world government? I am. That's why, you see, because humans don't want to behave, then they don't want to change, evolve, then what they do? They send in geographical disorder to destroy your properties, your structures, etc. Because you all deserve it, and your conscious and unconscious level, you all deserve this. You promised that in book 2 you would get into larger geopolitical issues facing the planet as opposed to the basically personal issues addressed in book 1, but I didn't think you would enter into this debate. It's time for the world to stop killing itself, to wake up, to realize that the only problem of humanity is lack of love. Love breeds tolerance. Tolerance breeds peace. Intolerance produces war and looks indifferent upon intolerable conditions. Love cannot be indifferent. It does not know how. The fastest way to get to a place of love and concern for all humanity is to see all humankind as your family. The fastest way to sell all humankind as your family is to stop separating yourself. Each of the nation states now making up your world must unite. It's gonna be difficult, I don't know. We do have the United Nations, which has been powerless and impotent. In order for that body to work, it would have to be completely restructured. Not impossible, but perhaps difficult and cumbersome. Okay, what do you propose? I don't have a proposal. I merely offer observations. In this dialogue, you tell me what your new choices are, and I offer observations on ways to manifest that. What is it you now choose with regard to the current relationship between people and nations on your planet? I'll use your words. If I had my way, I would choose for us to get to a place of love and concern for all humankind. Given that choice, I observe that what would work would be the formation of a new world political community, with each nation state having equal say in the world's affairs and an equal proportionate share of the world's resources. It will never work. The haves will never surrender their sovereignty, wealth, and resources to the have-nots, and argumentatively, why should they? Because it's in their best interest. They don't see that, and I'm not sure I do. If you could add billions of dollars a year to your nation's economy, dollars which could be spent to feed the hungry, clothe the needy, house the poor, bring security to the elderly, provide better health, and produce dignified standard of living for all, would that be in your nation's best interest? Well, in America there are those who would argue that it would help the poor at the expense of the rich and of the middle-income taxpayer. Meanwhile, the country continues to go to hell. Crime ravages the nation, inflation robs the people of their life savings, unemployment skyrockets, the government grows bigger and fatter, and in school they are handing out condoms. You sound like a radio talk show. Well, these are the concerns of many Americans. Then they are short-sighted. Do you not see that if billions of dollars a year, that's billions a month, hundreds and hundreds of thousands a week, unheard of amounts each day, could be sunk back into your system? That if you could use these monies to feed your hungry, clothe your needy, house your poor, bring security to your elderly, and provide health care and dignity to all, the causes of crime would be lost forever. Do you not see that new jobs would mushroom as dollars were pumped back into your economy? That your own government could even be reduced because it would have less to do? I suppose some of that could happen. I can't imagine government ever getting smaller, but just where are these millions and billions going to come from? Taxes imposed by your new world government? More taking from those who have worked to get it to give to those who won't stand up on their own 2 feet and go after it? Well, there's another place where they spend so much money into. There's a lot of places where they shift all their money to. Where warfare. Is that how you frame it? No, but it's how a great many people see it, and I wanted to fully state their view. Well, I would like to talk about that later. Right now, I don't want to get off track, but I want to come back to that later. Great. But you have asked where these new dollars would come from. Well, they would not have to come from any new taxes imposed by the New World Community, although members of the community, individual citizens, would want, under an enlightened governance, to send 10% of their income to provide for society's needs as a whole. Nowadays, government take around 25% in some countries from our salaries, so as though big deal with 10%. Nor would they come from new taxes imposed by any local government. In fact, some local government would surely be able to reduce taxes. All of these benefits would result from the simple restructuring of your world view, the simpler reordering of your world political configuration, the WPC. How? The money you save from building defensive systems and attack weapons. Oh, I get it. You want us to close down the military. Not just you, everybody in the world. Why would they? But not close it down your military, simply reduce it drastically. Internal order would be your only need. You could strengthen local police, something you say you want to do, but cry each year at budget time that you cannot do. At the same time, dramatically reducing your spending on weapons of war and preparation for war, that is, offensive and defensive weapons of mass destruction. First, I think your figures exaggerate how much could be saved by doing that. Second, I don't think you will ever convince people they should give up the ability to defend themselves. Defend from what and who? And I mean, also, if you think that those weapons doesn't cost much, then you are a big moron or carry favor. That's what I think about this man. Let's look at the numbers. Presently, it is March 25, 1994. As we write this, the world's government spend about $1 trillion a year for military purposes. That's $1 million a minute worldwide. The nations that are spending the most could redirect the most to the other priorities mentioned. So larger, richer nations would see it in their best interests to do so, if they thought it was possible. But larger and richer nations cannot imagine going defenseless, for they fear aggression and attack from the nations which invite them and want what they have. There are two ways to eliminate this threat. First, share enough of the world's total wealth and resources with all of the world's people so that no one will want and need what someone else has, and everyone may live in dignity and remove themselves from fear. Second, create a system for the resolution of differences that eliminates the need for war and even the possibility of it. Well, but first, before you can give to others, you must first feed your family within your own nation and continent. Then you have enough, you can think of others. That's how I think. First, those who are our family or our neighbor, and second, others. The people of the world would probably never do this. They already have. They have. Yes, there's a great experiment now going on in your world, in just this sort of political order. That experiment is called the USA, which you said was failing miserably. Yeah, that's the dichotomy. It is. It has very far to go before it could be called a success. As I promised earlier, I will talk about this and the attitudes which are now prevent it later. Still, it's the best experiment going. It is how Winston Churchill said, democracy is the worst system, he announced, except all others. I don't think so. Your nation was the first to take a loose confederation of individual states and successfully unite them into a cohesive group is submitted to one central authority. At the time, none of these states wanted to do this, and each resisted mildly, fearing the loss of its individual greatness and a claim that such a union would not serve its best interests. It may be instructive to understand just what was going on with these individual states at the time. While they had joined together in a loose confederation, there was no real US government, and hence no power to enforce the articles of confederation to which the states had agreed. States were conducting their own foreign affairs, several reaching private agreements on trade and other matters with France, Spain, England, and other countries. States traded with each other as well, and although the Articles of Confederation forbade it, some states added tariffs to the goods shipped in from other states, just as they did for goods from across the ocean. Merchants had no choice but to pay at the harbor if they wanted to buy or sell their goods. There being no central authority, although there was a written agreement to prohibit such taxing. The individual states also fought wars with each other. Each state considered its militia a standing army. 9 states had their own navies, and "Don't tread on me" could have been the official motto of every state in the Confederation. Over half of the states were even printing their own money, although the Confederation had agreed that doing so would also be illegal. In short, your original states, through joined together under the Articles of Confederation, were acting exactly as independent nations do today. Although they could see that the agreements of their confederation, such as the granting to Congress the sole authority to coin money, were not working, they staunchly resisted creating and submitted to a central authority that could enforce these agreements and put some teeth into them. Yet, in time, a few progressive leaders began to prevail. They convinced the rank and file that there was more to be gained by creating such a new federation than they would ever lose. Merchants would save money and increase profits because individual states could no longer tax each other's goods. Governments would save money and have more to put into programs and services that truly help the people because resources would not have to be used to protect individual states from each other. The people would have greater security and safety, and a greater prosperity too, by cooperating with rather than fighting with each other. Far from losing their greatness, each state could become greater still. And that, of course, is exactly what has happened. The same could be made to happen with the 160 nation states in the world today. If they were to join together in a united federation, it could mean an end to war. Okay. Also, there would still be disagreements so long as humans remain attached to outer things. That's true. There is a way to truly eliminate war and all experience of unrest and lack of peace, but that is a spiritual solution. We are here exploring a geopolitical one. Actually, the trick is to combine the two. Spiritual truth must be lived in practical life to change everyday experience. Until this change occurs, there would still be disagreements. You are right. Yet there need not be wars, there need not be killing. As there was between California and Oregon over water rights, between Maryland and Virginia over fishing, between Wisconsin and Illinois, Ohio and Massachusetts. No. And why not? Have not various disputes and differences arisen between them through the years? I suppose so. You can bet on it, but these individual states have voluntarily agreed. It was a simple voluntary agreement to abide by certain laws and abide by certain compromises on matters common to them, while retain the right to pass separate um, statutes on matters relating to each individuality. So compromise on matters common to them, while retain the right to pass separate statutes on matters related to each individually. And now when disputes between states do arise due to differing interpretation of the federal law or someone simply breaking the law, the matter is taken to a court which has been granted the authority that is given the authority by the states to resolve the dispute. And if the current Board of Laws does not provide a precedent or a means by which the matter can be brought through the courts to be a satisfactory resolution, the states and the people in them send their representatives to a central government to try to create agreements on new laws that will produce a satisfactory circumstance or at the very least a reasonable compromise. I don't know if it's going to work out, but I cannot imagine a country fighting among themselves, state with states. That's awful. If they do this among each other, imagine among other foreign countries. This is how a federation works. A system of laws, a system of court is empowered by you to interpret those laws, and a justice system backed by armed might, if needed, to enforce the decisions of those courts. Although no one could argue that the system doesn't need improving, this political concoction has worked for more than 200 years. There is no reason to doubt that the same recipe will work between nations, states as well. If it is so simple, why has it been tried? It has. Your League of Nations was an early attempt. The United Nations is the latest, the UN. Yet one has failed and the other has been only minimally effective because, like the 13 states of America's original confederation, the member nation states, particularly the most powerful, are afraid they have more to lose than to gain from the reconfiguration. That's because the people of power are more concerned with the hold on to their power than with improving the quality of life for all people. The haves know that such a world federation would inevitably produce more for the have-nots, but the haves believe this would come at the expense of selfish, and they are giving up in nothing. Is it their fear justified? And is wanting to hold on to what you have so long struggled for unreasonable? That's because you also like them miser men. Fourth, it's not necessarily true that to give more to those who now hunger and thirst and live without shelter, others must give up their abundance. As I have pointed it out, all you would have to do is take the 1 billion a year, 1 trillion a year spent annually worldwide for military purposes and shift that to humanitarian purposes. And you'll have solved the problem without spending an additional penny or shifting any of the wealth from where it now resides to where it does not. Of course, it could be argued that those international conglomerates whose profits come from war and tools for war would be losers, as would their employees and all those whose abundance is derived from the world's conflict consciousness. But perhaps your source of abundance is misplaced. If one has to depend on the world living in strife in order for one to survive, perhaps this dependency explains why a world resists any attempt to create a structure for lasting peace. As for the second part of your question, wanting to hold on to what you have struggled so long to acquire as an individual or as a nation is not unreasonable if you come from an outside world consciousness. A what? If you derive your life's greatest happiness from experiences obtainable only in the outside world, the physical world outside of yourself, you'll never want to give up in once of all that you have piled up as a person and a nation to make you happy. And as long as those who have not see their unhappiness tied to the lack of material things, they too will get caught in the trap. They will constantly want what you have got, and that you will constantly refuse to share it. But these people just want the basic, to want shelter, to eat, to drink, to sleep, pay the bills. That's all what they want. I really, I cannot emphasize in this so much, given where these people come from, how they feel. What they need is just the basic to live with dignity. What's so wrong about that? It's when we want more than what we have that there is a problem. That's why I said earlier that there is a way to truly eliminate war and all experience of unrest and a lack of peace. But this is a spiritual solution. Ultimately, every geopolitical problem, just as every personal problem, breaks down to a spiritual problem. All of life is spiritual, and therefore all of life's problems are spiritually based and spiritually solved. Wars are created on your planet because somebody has something that somebody else wants. This is what causes someone to do something that somebody else does not want them to do. All conflicts arise from misplaced desire. The only peace in all the world that is sustaining is internal peace. Let each person find peace within. When you find peace within, you also find that you can do without it. This means simply that you no longer need the things of your outside world. Not needing is a great freedom. It frees you. Live with minimum. Be a minimalist. It frees you first from fear. Fear that there is something you want to have. Fear that there is something you have that you lose. And a fear that without a certain thing you won't be happy. Secondly, not needing frees you from anger. Anger is fear announced. When you have nothing to fear, you have nothing over which to be angry. You are not angry when you don't get what you want because you're wanting it when simply a preference, not a necessity. You therefore have no fear associated with the possibility of not getting it, hence no anger. You are not angry when you see others doing what you don't want them to do because you don't need them to do or not to do any particular thing, hence no anger. You are not angry when someone is unkind because you have no need for them to be kind. You have no anger when someone is unloving because you have no need for them to love you. You have no anger when someone is cruel, hurtful, or seeks to damage you, for you have no need for them to behave in any other way. Yeah, but I don't agree with that because we live in this bad and this world, and it's not easy for us to most of the time control ourselves when injustice comes to blows and punch. And you are clear that you cannot be damaged. You do not even have anger should someone seek to take your life because you do not fear that. When fear is taken from you, all else can be taken from you and you will not be angry. You know inwardly, intuitively, that everything you have created can be created again, or more importantly, that it doesn't matter. When you find inner peace, neither the presence nor the absence of any person, place, or thing, condition, circumstance, or situation can be the creator of your state of mind or the cause of your experience of being. This does not mean that you reject all things of the body. Far from it. You experience being fully in your body and the delights of that as you never have before. Yet your involvement with things of the body will be voluntary, not mandatory. You will experience bodily sensations because you choose to, not because you are required to in order to feel happy or to justify sadness. This one simple change, seeking and finding peace within, could, were it undertaken by everyone, end all wars, eliminate conflict, prevent injustice, and bring the world to everlasting peace. There is no other formula necessary or possible. World peace is a personal thing. What is needed is not a change of circumstance, but a change of consciousness. Correct. How can we find inner peace when we are hungry? Be at the place of serenity when we thirst. So why you don't want to cooperate and to divide and share? Remain calm when we are wet and cold and without shelter. We avoid the anger when our loved ones are dying without cause. Yeah, exactly. But don't resist in a context the plans for a betterment. The betterment of the world. You speak so poetically, but is poetry practical? Does it have anything to say to the mother in Ethiopia who watches her emancipated child die for lack of one slice of bread? The man in Central America who feels a bullet to rip his butt because he tried to stop an army from taking over his village. And what does your poetry say to the woman in Brooklyn raped each 80 times by a gang, or the family of six in Ireland blown away by a terrorist bomb planted in a church on a Sunday morning? So why do you resist when the being here proposes and suggests that we do something to stop all this? You contest. When the people say that you should be this way, so in order to avoid the other things, you give another excuse. I don't understand. So bipolar. This is difficult to hear, but I tell you this: there is perfection in everything. Strive to see the perfection. I don't see perfection in hellish things and devilish. I'm so sorry. Only devils see perfection in where there is killing and all kind of aberration and a wanting. I don't see perfection in that. This is the change of consciousness of which I speak. Neither do I see perfection in stupidity. I hate stupidity. Need nothing, desire everything, choose what shows up. Feel your feelings, cry your cries, laugh your laughs, honor your truth. Yet, when all the emotions is done, be still and know that I am God. Oh no, don't bring again nonsense. In other words, in the midst of the greatest tragedy, see the glory of the process. Even as you dive a bullet through your chest, even as you are being gang raped, please. Now, this sounds like such an impossible thing to do. Yet, when you move to God consciousness, you can do it. You don't have to do it, of course. It depends on how you wish to experience the moment. Exactly. So how should we do it and choose? I don't choose it. In a moment of great tragedy, the challenge always to quiet the mind and move it deep within the soul. That's one thing about maybe we are caught up in a flash flood or we are caught in a earthquake. There's less you can do. There's not much you can do. But when somebody comes to disturb us, if we can defend ourselves, why must we give up easily? And when somebody tries to abuse the eyes and are too stupid to debunk what we think is best for the world, why should we be quiet? No, that's not me. You don't have to do it, of course, depends on how you wish to experience the moment. In a moment of a great tragedy, the challenge always is to quiet the mind and move it deep within the soul. You automatically do this when you have no control over it. Yeah, I believe so, because what can we do? If we are caught in a bomb, an earthquake, what can we do but to surround it? We cannot do anything else. It's over. Have you ever talked with a person who accidentally ran a car off a bridge, or found himself facing a gun, or nearly drowned? Often they will tell you that time slowed the way down, that they were overcome by a curious calm, that there was no fear at all. Fear not, for I am with you. That's what poetry has to say to the person faced tragedy. In your darkest hour, I will be your light, your light. In your blackest moment, I will be your consolation. In your most difficult and trying time, I'll be your strength. Therefore, have faith, for I am your shepherd, you shall not want. I will cause you to lie down in green pastures. I will lead you beside still waters. But that's when you are dead already. And after you die, you go through other type of traumas and tests and upheaval, tribulations before everything is over and you are through yet other types and layers of problems after you return to the body again through incarnation or even reincarnation, I don't know. I will restore your soul and I'll lead you in the paths of righteousness for my name's sake. And yeah, through you walk through the valley of the shadow of death, you will fear no evil. For I am with you, my rod and my staff will comfort you. Yeah, say that to the people who are caught. People who are caught in the war, or children, whatever, earthquake, flood, flash flood. For I am with you, my rod and my staff will comfort you. And prepare a table before you in the presence of your enemies. I shall anoint your head with oil. Your cup will run over. Surely goodness and mercy will follow you all the days of your life. And I will dwell in my house and in my heart forever. I'm sorry, I don't like all this nonsense. I like practicality. I don't like delusions. I don't like hallucinations. To me, all this hallucination, all this thing from religion. I don't believe. I believe in practicality, where you do, don't speak, do it. If you can do. Don't talk so much. So that's it for now.